Alright, so this is our fourth video of the Quiet Sleep. We've made a bunch of changes, number of UI changes, number of game flow changes, some new images, stuff like that. Everything is still in progress. As you can see, there's little things that aren't quite right, like that image is a little off. Stuff like that. But we're getting there, and soon we should be ready. So let's start. The first thing we want to do is this goal, to wake up, right, which needs energy. So over here in the adulthood, we can build an energy spring that will generate this energy. Now to complete this construction, this needs will, which is produced by the will mine. So we're going to just connect these up like that. Then over here you can see make path. So we need to draw a path. That path wasn't quite right. Yes, like this, right? So now we'll be able to have our trains go from the self to the will mine, finish this construction of the energy mine, and then after that we can have our trains go from here to the energy mine and then complete this chore, right? So we'll just start that. So we've already set that up, so now there, right? This is a train, it's going to go pick up the will, drop it off at the energy mine. Right, so we'll just let that happen, and now we have an energy spring, right, which is just like the will mine, except where the will mine produces will, this produces energy, right? This is important because this wake up goal needs energy, so we're just going to connect these and let that run. Right, now here we have two things. We have two new things now that we've completed that first goal. The first one is to unpack. The second one is a chores tower that we can now build. Right, so let's take a look at that. If we look here, we can see a chores tower that takes energy and converts it to chores. Right, now we are producing energy here, as we already were. So we'll just build this over here, say, and start this path. Right, and once again we'll connect this with a path here, and we'll connect that like this, so that once we complete this we can move it directly. Now actually, well, we'll let this complete, right? And now what this requires from us is just to unpack. What we're trying to do here is unpack, so we need chores, we get here, but that needs energy, so we connect that here as well, and then we just connect that to the self, and that'll start running. While this is going on, I think we should make a second will mine, so that later on we'll just have a higher production of will, right? And that way we can build more things simultaneously later on. And since anyway we're not using the will mine now, we may as well do it. So you can see the train goes here, picks up energy, takes it here where it's converted to a chore, and then you saw it went to the unpack goal and was completed. So now we have three new things coming up. Two of them are goals and one of them is a tower. We'll start with the tower here. What this one does is it's going to damage the creeps that come down, which are actually emotions. So what you'll see is that reading this letter from home is going to make us emotional, right? It's going to make these missing home and elements which represent this person becoming emotional. So in order to deal with that, we're going to build a paint tower here, and we'll let this will mine finish before connecting that up. However, this requires energy, which we happen to have free, so we'll just hook that up like so, and connect it here. Right, so now we're just waiting on exactly that, right? So now that we have a second will mine, we can connect this, and what we're also going to do is build a second energy spring. The reason we need two energy springs is because the paint is going to start taking up energy. Painting is going to start taking up energy, so we want to have options, right? As in we don't want to be pinched on energy very soon. So now we're just going to let these finish, and you can see that's completed, and we now have a new thing, the city. That's a new trait, right? Like this whole area is the first trait that's been created, which is our adulthood, right? So based off the adulthood, we can do things like build will mines, build energy springs, do chores, paint. These all come from the adulthood trait. Whereas over here, with the city, we can travel and we can walk, right? Because it makes sense, right? You're traveling in a city, stuff like that. We also have two new goals. We can become a cabbie, or we can become a cleaner. Also, you can see they both require travel and make nasty comments. Basically the same. It's just a choice of which job you want to take up. So we're going to take up becoming a cabbie right now. So what that's going to require from us is a travel tower. And I think we'll just start that construction right now. So there's that free will, and we'll just do that. Also, since we're no longer using this energy mine, we'll just hook that up to this paint tower so that we can get that running in case we become emotional. So now, again, we're just really waiting on these constructions, right? And now that this construction is complete, this will mine is free. So we can start reading this letter from home. Right, and simultaneously you can see we're building this tower, right? You saw right there, right? I'll show you the next time. Oh, so this entire goal finished. We can now start meeting people, and again we got a new trait. But before we look at that, let's take a look at this thing here, which is the fact that we're missing home. So this produces sadness, which we can reduce by painting, right? Our painting helps us deal with the sadness we're feeling. So that's why we've got that whole thing set up. I'll show you that right now, in fact. Or not, because we got over our sadness. So anyway, we're building this travel tower to help us do that. And meanwhile, we'll also make some industriousness. So this trait that we just got fresh represents how much the homeland is for us. It's a representation of the upbringing we've had in our homeland. And one of the things this does is this gives us industriousness, right? We source our industriousness from our upbringing, essentially, right? Which makes industry, which we're going to use to work in a moment. Also, you can see we can use it to make energy, which might be helpful soon. Right now I think we're fairly good on energy, so I'm not going to bother with that. Actually no, that's not true. I think I'll build an energy mine here. Energy is one of those things that you really want a lot of. Okay, so now that we have this travel tower, to become a cabbie we need travel, so we click here. But to travel we need energy, so we just click here, and we're good. So we'll start that running, and meanwhile we'll also just build a second energy mine here. Now you see, the path that we take from the self to these is quite long, right? So we can make a shortcut like this, but now this is much less defensible. Right, we only have this one tower here in case we get a bunch of emotions from here. And this one tower has to handle emotions coming from both directions, essentially. So I think it's worth making this a little less safe. See? Like over here, we're going to start seeing emotions be produced, right? So you can see this one right here. That's anger that's being generated by this nasty comment that we heard when trying to find a job. So this is going to go down this path, right? And then it's easy to miss, but the paint tower shot it, getting rid of that anger. Right, so that way, anyway, so we have this one tower handling both sides. Meanwhile, we finished the first chapter of the story by getting the homeland trait and getting the city trait. So now that we're on chapter 2, it's time to see what the city has to offer. So again, let's just keep things running here. basically we were waiting for these to complete, and now we're waiting for we're waiting to get a job, essentially. So once again, we have some free will. So we're just going to build a second travel tower here, so that we can also start completing this goal, just to meet new people. And I could see building another energy spring here, and I think I will. Where this is nice because it's close to the city, which is going to end up taking a lot of energy. So that's convenient. So we've completed this goal, which was to become a cabbie, and now we've got a job. And as part of that job, we've got a job quota, which needs cash, right? And to get cash, we need to start driving around in this cab. We need to start driving around with this job that we just got. Now, sadly, we only have 2 will mines, and we're already using both of them, so I can't actually start anything just yet. But now I can. Now that this energy spring is complete, I can do this. Right? So we'll do that. We're not driving. We're not using anything to drive. We're not using the travel tower for anything. So we'll just hook this up too. And we'll just let things run a little while. Right? Basically, we need these to complete so that we can fill our job quota. And in the meantime, we're trying to meet someone new. Yeah, there we go. Oh, finished both at the same time. Okay, so now that we've met a new person, we can continue to meet new people if we want to. And we'll take a look at this person in a moment. But first, let's try to complete this job quota, right? Because we really don't want to get fired. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a little fast, right? Let's do that again. Okay, so we need cash. We get cash by driving around. We need to travel to drive. And the thing is, to work, so normally traveling just requires energy, but to work you also need industry, which we'll get from this industriousness mine that we set up a long time ago, and thoughts of home. And you can see that because we built this shortcut here, this whole thing is going to be much faster. And similarly, we're just going to complete it like that. I accidentally cancelled the path while doing that, but okay, cool. So now this is going to run. This is going to complete our job quota, which is nice. So let's take a look at this person we have just met. Right now, people you meet are exactly like traits, right? They take up space in your mind, and you can build stuff on them, right? Because they take up so much space in your mind, and you perform actions with the people you know, right? So this is the older person whom we can spend time with. So you know what, we'll do that. We'll just hook this up like so, and we can chat with the person, which needs the social that we'll produce from this mine. So we'll just let that go. Meanwhile, we'll try to meet another person. And see, this is where having 2 travel towers comes in handy. Let's us do this. Meanwhile, we're making more energy than we need. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm also going to build a second paint tower right here, just to help us in case we become emotional. So this way we've got a fair bit of protection from things coming down this side or this side, which should be all of that space. So that should be useful. So again, we'll just let things run a little bit. You can see over there we're getting the cash, over there we're putting the will in that, and over here travel is coming. So just things are running, right? And now we've met yet another person, so let's see who this person is. So this one is the one you admire, and as you can see, you can flirt with this person, right? And also fantasize about this person in case you need even more energy. So over here is the ask out goal that needs flirting, right? Which again you produce with this tower. And also, just like this other person, you can chat by producing social. So we're going to start with that, right? Let's not move too quickly. Just build a social mine here, hook that up, and start chatting. So as you perform actions with people, good. So we completed our job quota. So now we've got nothing draining cash. By the way, there's one more goal here, but it's not important. So what we'll do is we'll just start stockpiling cash right now for when we need it, because we have the ability to. And suddenly it's the third chapter. So this has us this activation goal. It lets us build aspiration mines, and it gave us a new trait, that of intelligence. So we're going to start by taking a look at this activation goal. And it says we're not where we need to be and requires travel. So we'll just hook that up, where if we hook it up like this, we can get straight to the travel, and we'll start this. Also, you can see this is producing fear, right? And this is our programming, which is causing when it tells us that we must obey. And it's producing fear and sadness, and it comes, of course, from this activation goal. So that's going to keep... also, at the same time, this has started, right, where we need to pay rent, which is not great. So for that, we're going to need cash. And unfortunately, we need to stop our previous thing that was taking up all of these towers and start a new one. So again, it requires cash. Cash requires traveling and industry. We got the travel, but now we require industry and energy. So that's where you can see it's useful to have these two in a line, because that way the train doesn't have far to go to complete both. So right now, we're doing a bunch of things, right? We're trying to build these two new resources that'll produce social, so that in the future we can chat with these two different people, right? We're traveling because we've been programmed to, right? And we have to do that. And we're paying our rent because it scares us, the idea of not paying rent. Also, while all of this is going on, you can see we have a new trait here, which is intelligence, which gives us a lot of options. We'll get back to that in a bit. Right now, there's so much going on we don't want to. And see, here's what I was scared of, right? We've got these two towers, but there's just getting overloaded to some degree, right? But that's fine, that's fine. Just letting things happen. So you can see we've built both of these, right? So now what we could do is we could start using these wool mines a little more and place a couple new towers. In particular, this thought mine is useful because that just unlocks all of these things for us. However, instead of doing that right now, we're going to keep our focus used a little bit lower, because that makes all of these resources produce things faster. And you can see none of them have a stockpile, right? So these trains essentially are waiting at each of these. In fact, I'll show you. So over here, you can see this train waiting at this mine for this industriousness to be produced. So because this is, because our focus is so high, this is much slower. And so it's going to take us longer to complete this goal, right? Whereas now, so we're just going to keep our focus low right now, only do the things we must do, which are completing this activation goal and paying our rent. And we'll just let that run a little bit. Right, there's the travel. Not sure how many more that needs, but that's complete, which is good. Okay. So we've completed our rent thing, which was a big one. This is a pretty irritating one. And now I feel we have a little more bandwidth. So what we're going to start with is we're actually going to focus on this person a little bit while we're completing our activation. So we're going to chat with the one we admire. Also, while we're here, I can make this a little bit faster like that. And we're also going to prepare to flirt with this person. So we're just going to set up both of those, right? We could chat with this person, but that seems non-essential, and we could start stockpiling cash, but I'm going to let this task complete first. And that's done. And as it says, we did not come here merely to drive cars and clean houses. Right? Oh, and you can see it's created a new goal over here. Right, to learn our first mission, which requires contact. And it makes fear flashes while it's alive. So, all of these things are going to... Oh, also you can see here that we can fight our programming. And basically asking ourselves whether we are this person who's going around learning of missions and contacting people. This requires disavowal, which we have no way of making right now. So we're just going to leave that alone, and we're going to build a contact tower, which we can do over here. So I'm just going to strut this path, let that happen. And meanwhile we completed chatting. So now we can chat with this person again if we want. But I think that's fine. By talking to this person, we've unlocked a couple of new towers, right? We can talk to the person, which will damage emotions that go by it, and we can build a resource out of our desire to impress this person, which will make desire. Desire, of course, we can use over here to make industry instead of just using it from the homeland. Speaking of that, we'll start a thought mine here. Oh, once we get some will, just so that in the future that'll be ready. Meanwhile, again, I would like to start stockpiling cash, but it's hard because our focus is so high. And I would like to finish this tower first. So now you can see we've completed the contact tower, so we can get this running. Right, and again, this requires travel. So we'll just hook that up like so. And we'll just let things finish. Although we will finish this as well. So as you can see, this is producing a ton of emotion, right? Because we've been programmed to do so, and until we complete this, we feel uneasy. So now that we've learnt our first mission, you can see what that mission is, and it's to deliver papers for someone, which just requires travel. So we'll hook that up, and we'll try to see if we can buy some respite from all of these things. Right? Meanwhile, I'm still just waiting on these to complete. So you can see this really does mess with us a fair bit. So now we've completed the flirt tower, so we can actually ask this person out. Also, we've built our thought mine, so we can start building all of these if we want them. However, I think instead of going directly to asking this person out, I'd like things to become a little bit stabler. So what we're going to do is we're going to just stockpile a little cash instead, and let these things go on. Right, and now that we've completed this goal, I'm feeling quite a bit stabler. Right, so we'll actually let these emotions die out. We'll basically recover from what we did. Right, and now that that's all done, we'll actually ask this person out, right? And that's the exciting bit. That's the one I've been waiting for. So there you can see we go. Oh goodness, we need to pay rent. Right, you can see that fear is just creeping up on us. Crud. Okay. So let's just hook that up again. It's pretty straightforward. Start a path, like so. And there we go. Right. I would prefer not to be asking this person out while trying to pay rent, but hey, it is what it is, right? And that's complete. Still a little emotional, right? It's scary when our landlord keeps threatening us like this, but that's cool. That's done, right? So now, boom, we've completed asking this person out, right? So we can go on a walking date with this person, which is nice. It's a cheap one too. So we just build a date tower. Now you saw it requires flirting and traveling, which is hard. So we're just going to put this over here. Hook it up, just start building that, and give us a shortcut like that, and run this. And while we're doing that, we seem to have a stockpile of will, so I'm not that worried, and we'll get a stockpile of social by the time this completes. So we'll just start generating cash again, because cash is going to be useful. Also, see, for a change, instead of like fear or sadness or anger, we've got joy being produced, which is nice. Still going to calm ourselves down by painting, but nevertheless. Oof, and now we got to chapter 4, right, the new normal. You can get used to anything. In this case, that's balancing these things with the rest of our life, right? So thankfully, today is not a rent day. Makes today a lot easier, because we do still want to get this done. See, now that we've completed that tower, let's just hook it up, like so. We'll get that going. But we also need to hide traces of what we did before, right? And naturally, the fact that it's there scares us quite a bit. So what we're going to do is connect this like that, and just hook things up there. Right, so once again, just letting things go. And just to speed everything else up, we're going to stop working for a little while. Yeah. Oh, I never actually connected that to any energy. No wonder. Anyway. Well, I would like to start something with this will mine. Ah, good. Good, so we completed that walking date, which was all we ever wanted. So now what do we have here? Oh, way over here, huh? So this person was definitely the one. We can now buy a ring if we wanted to. That's where that's going. But you know, I don't rush quite that hard. So I'm going to go on another date with this person first. Right, so that just requires this. And we'll wait for this to complete as well. Right, so we're just getting this done. And we completed that goal, which is good. Gives us some time. Oh, we never talked to this person at all, sadly. We just ignored him. Oh well, oh well. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'll just let things quiet down. Let's get past this. Oh, but it's yet another chapter. And now we need to plan. Or, I'm sorry. We can plan? Yeah, we can build a plan tower. Right? Over here. Yep. Oh. Because we can spy as well. I see. Alright, so would like to complete that. So what that's going to require is this spy tower and planning, right? Because to spy we need preparation, which we generate by planning. So we're just going to let these two build, and meanwhile this keeps going. That one painting tower over there has been doing work. This keeps us calm. Right, well, we've got all of these things to deal with. Okay, so that's the first one complete. And that should be done soon, yep. So we've asked this person out. Huh. We can do this person the favor of cleaning their house. But instead what we're going to do is prepare for the restaurant date, which requires cash. Now thankfully we have a nice stockpile of cash, so that'll happen quickly. Right? If you watch, this train will just go directly here, pick up the cash, and then take it to the goal. But what we're really doing is we're waiting for the spy tower to be complete so that we can satisfy our programming, which is causing us so much trouble. You could speed this up a little bit, but I don't think it's necessary. Oh goodness, we've got a full run to do now. So yeah, we'll just speed that up. Ah, and this is done. So now we can spy, right? And by satisfying our programming, we're going to be a little less, we're going to see less fear. So again, very quickly, as you can see, spying required preparation and travel. Preparation required thought, so we hooked it up like this. And then we got the travel, which requires energy. So we've hooked up that entire thing. Meanwhile, just prepared for the restaurant date. It's over here. Okay. And this requires dating. So we can just hook that up. Like so. And we're good. Now we couldn't even work if now we have no cash, which is a problem. But sadly we can't work either because we're using both our travel towers, one to spy and one to go on this date. However, we need to drive to pay our rent, so that's a problem. Ah, good, but we completed that goal, which was also generating a lot of emotion, so it's just good to have that one done. And now we can start driving and pay this off. Ah, and we've completed our goal. Once again, we can buy a ring. Right? Okay, so I think this is a good place to stop. So you can see a lot has happened. I'm sure you'd like to know what happens as a result of the spying we've done, and whether or not we will actually ever buy this ring and propose. But I think this is quite a bit to be going on with. So thanks for watching. Check out the game.